Hannah, born and raised in Lakeside, San Diego County, was the eldest daughter of Brett and Tina Anderson. She excelled as an all-American cheerleader and gymnast, while her younger brother, Ethan, pursued football. Initially, their family embodied perfection, until encountering a rough patch in their journey. Brett's job loss strained their family dynamics. Despite the hardship, they navigated through it with the support of relatives and friends, notably James Lee DiMaggio, affectionately known as Uncle Jim by Hannah and Ethan. Following a period of separation, Brett secured a job in Tennessee, necessitating a move away from his family. Prior to departure, he entrusted DiMaggio, his longtime best friend, with a significant request. True to his promise, DiMaggio stood by the family for 3 months. He frequently extended invitations to his cabin in Boulevard, California, offering solace to Tina. He cultivated a fraternal bond with Ethan and taught him how to fire a gun. Additionally, he developed a close rapport with Hannah, who sought his counsel and guidance through personal letters concerning family matters. Sometime after Brett relocated to Tennessee, Hannah returned from a gymnastics meet, and DiMaggio, accompanied by her friend Marissa Chavez, picked her up. Initially, their interaction was amicable, but it took an uncomfortable turn when DiMaggio said something that made Hannah and Marissa uneasy. Despite feeling uncomfortable, Hannah chose not to escalate the situation, primarily because of DiMaggio's importance as a friend to her family. She opted to overlook the incident, although it raised a concern in her mind that she attempted to disregard. Eventually, DiMaggio even took her on a trip to Hollywood, just the two of them. Typical of teenagers, Hannah spent much of the time engrossed in her phone. Initially intended as a week-long excursion, the trip was abruptly cut short. Shortly thereafter, DiMaggio confided in Tina about his financial struggles, which resulted in the foreclosure of the cabin where the family often gathered. On Saturday, August 3, 2013, following Ethan's football practice, a series of events unfolded. DiMaggio picked up Hannah from cheerleader camp, and they were scheduled to rendezvous with Tina and Ethan at the cabin. It was intended as a final weekend getaway and a farewell before the foreclosure and his impending relocation to Texas. However, what occurred turned into a nightmare that would haunt Hannah's peaceful life. DiMaggio gave her a flimsy excuse and urged her to enter the house. Upon entering the cabin, Hannah was immediately confronted with a chilling sight: her mother's bag, accompanied by handcuffs. The person she had regarded as a second father had transformed into a menacing and unfamiliar figure. Initially paralyzed by shock, she found herself unable to resist as he restrained her with handcuffs and zip ties, seating her on the couch while menacingly declaring his intention to abduct her. At first, Hannah thought it as one of the self-defense lessons he had imparted during their childhood. DiMaggio, having served 4 years in the U.S. Navy, had a penchant for teaching them self-defense techniques. Hannah, racked with overwhelming fear, found herself paralyzed, unable to do anything but cry. He urged Hannah to partake in a game of Russian roulette. Her immediate refusal was met with insistence, and he initiated the game by pulling the trigger on himself. When it came to her turn, she could only weep in terror. Mercifully, the game ended at that point. A glimmer of hope flickered when she heard a faint voice emanating from elsewhere in the house, indicating she wasn't alone. Recognizing it as her younger brother's voice, her heart sank upon realizing he sounded distressed. Ethan's attempts to call out were stifled by DiMaggio, who had gagged him and confined him upstairs. Despite Hannah's efforts to call out to him, the man silenced her, cautioning her that if she made any noise, he'd harm her family. Feeling utterly powerless, Hannah reluctantly complied. DiMaggio then administered a sedative, plunging her into unconsciousness for the remainder of the night. During Hannah's unconscious state, DiMaggio transferred her to his blue Nissan Versa and traveled westbound on Old Highway 80 around midnight, departing from Boulevard, California. Subsequently, they were captured on surveillance footage at a Border Patrol immigration checkpoint near the Mexico border, where they were waved through after being mistaken for a father and daughter. Approximately 20 hours later, at 8 p.m. on August 4, 2013, A sudden blaze engulfed DiMaggio's cabin. Emergency responders swiftly arrived at the scene, finding the cabin consumed by flames, with the adjacent garage just beginning to catch fire. Although they managed to salvage much of the garage, their discovery of a corpse inside, authorities later disclosed in a press briefing that the deceased woman was identified as Christina Anderson. Her body exhibited signs of torture and severe trauma. Adjacent to her remains lay a crowbar, alongside the body of the family dog. Upon learning of Tina's demise, Hannah's father, Brett, harbored grave concerns. Investigators soon uncovered the charred remains of a young child amidst the debris of the log cabin. Although insufficient evidence remained for DNA analysis, Brett was certain it was his son. Upon awakening, Hannah found herself handcuffed to the car seat beside DiMaggio and his gray cat, disoriented and unable to comprehend their whereabouts. Her foremost concern revolved around the safety of her younger brother and mother. A ray of hope emerged when investigators failed to locate Jim DiMaggio and Hannah Anderson amidst the wreckage. Investigators stumbled upon a cache of incriminating evidence. Discarded items including handcuffs, knives, and zip ties, alongside printed photographs of Hannah directly from her social media profiles. Beneath the cabin, they uncovered makeshift incendiary devices, with wires extending from the log cabin to the garage. Inside the container lay a meticulously constructed box designed to detonate like a time bomb. These findings led authorities to deduce that Jim DiMaggio masterminded the arson attack and the murders of Christina and Ethan. With Hannah's whereabouts still unknown, it was presumed that she had been abducted by DiMaggio, who had gained a significant head start due to his timed incendiary devices. Conspicuously absent from the scene was DiMaggio's blue Nissan Versa, prompting authorities to launch a widespread manhunt. Hannah Anderson was officially declared missing, abducted on the same day as her mother and brother's tragic demise. The sheriff's department issued an official statement and disseminated James Lee DiMaggio's photograph to the public, identifying him as the primary suspect. Utilizing technology beyond traditional media outlets, they employed the Amber Alert system to directly notify cell phones along the Pacific coast. The alert provided essential details for public assistance in the investigation, including the name of the missing daughter, the suspected abductor, and his vehicle. Hannah's family and friends gathered for candlelight vigils, offering prayers for her safe return while mourning the loss of Ethan and Tina.
Jim, if you're watching this, please don't hurt my family.
DiMaggio selected a secluded spot to park the car, instructing Hannah to help conceal it with leaves and branches. Before departing, DiMaggio removed the license plates, discarding them along with his wallet and keys off a cliff. This act indicated his intention to never return, which greatly disturbed Hannah. Who was James Lee DiMaggio, and what motivated his actions? According to close friends, DiMaggio had a fondness for animals, notably his beloved gray cat. He even likened himself to a second father figure to Hannah, mirroring his role in her sister's life. Meanwhile, Hannah and DiMaggio navigated a challenging trail with meager provisions, heading towards the treacherous River of No Return. Hannah's compliance was tested as she struggled under the weight of two 50-pound bags while also tending to the cat. Unaware of her mother and brother's fate, Hannah remained in the dark about their whereabouts. DiMaggio outlined a plan. He needed her assistance to reach the river, assuring her that thereafter she could go back home. Isolated from the outside world without access to news or a cell phone, Hannah had no one to rely on but DiMaggio and his promises. The rugged trail exacted a toll on Hannah. She injured her left knee when they veered off course. They eventually established a campsite near Moorhead Lake, approximately 8 miles from the trailhead. As the world outside conducted a frantic search for them, days blurred together for Hannah, consumed solely by the need to survive. Supplies dwindled, and the nights grew frigid, with only a blue tent, 2 sleeping bags, and a sparse assortment of blankets for warmth. For 3 harrowing days, Hannah lived in constant dread. While gathering water from a stream, they encountered 4 horseback riders. Unbeknownst to the riders, Hannah and DiMaggio were subjects of a search effort. Their presence raised immediate suspicions due to their inadequate gear for the wilderness. DiMaggio, with a protective arm around Hannah, issued a whispered warning, indicating that any signal from her would result in harm to them all. Hannah's hopes were dashed as the riders passed without incident, believing she missed her chance. But it wasn't the case. The riders took notice. They contacted the Idaho State Police and subsequently informed the task force in San Diego.
Red flags kind of went up on him.
For us to be there at the precise time to interact with them is one chance in a trillion.
All of their gear looked like it was brand new.
Usually don't run into somebody that's wearing pajamas.
The information provided by the horse riders made a huge impact on the case. While inspecting a trailhead where the road ended, he noticed a glimmer of blue metal concealed behind branches, a cleverly hidden Nissan Versa. Despite the absence of license plates, they identified the vehicle through its vehicle identification number, registered under James Lee DiMaggio. With this crucial breakthrough, the task force established a mobile command post in Cascade, Idaho. As Saturday dawned, marking a full week since Hannah and DiMaggio were last seen, the task force faced an extensive search ahead. But it was the airborne search that pinpointed DiMaggio's exact location. Having identified their exact whereabouts, the task force confronted the challenge of approaching the campsite without alerting DiMaggio. They landed their helicopter 2 miles from the campsite and embarked on a 2-hour stealth hike to flank the camp. As ground forces encircled the camp, DiMaggio tended to the fire mere meters away from where Hannah sat. Spotting the aircraft overhead, she began waving urgently, a desperate plea for rescue. A moment of eerie silence enveloped the forest, shattered abruptly by a hail of gunfire, plunging everything into chaos. Amidst the chaos, rescuers extended a comforting hand, guiding her to freedom. In the midst of the gunfire and the advancing ground forces, DiMaggio, armed with a gun, attempted to fend off the FBI agents. Drawing upon his military training, he exchanged fire, confident in his ability to evade capture with Hannah as his hostage. However, despite his proficiency, the rescuers emerged victorious. James Lee DiMaggio fell in the crossfire, succumbing to his injuries. For Hannah, the experience was surreal and jarring. She couldn't believe that she was being rescued. In the aftermath, as the chaos subsided, she finally allowed herself to lower her guard, the moment etched into her memory indefinitely. Despite the overwhelming relief of being reunited with her family, Hannah and her father requested privacy as they grappled with the profound loss of Christina and Ethan. Their joy was tempered by the heartbreaking reality of their absence. A truth Hannah learned only after her rescue. Hannah found solace in her father's unwavering support. Together, they navigated fundraisers for her mother and brother's funerals, facing the public with resilience.
How are you doing today?
Good.
You feel ready to talk about this and tell the story?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that Saturday. You were at cheerleading camp?
Yeah. My mom dropped me off, and then he came to pick me up because my mom and brother's game already finished, so they were going to meet me up there at his house, was the plan.
So you get in the car. Where do you go, and at what point did you realize something's really wrong?
When we got to his house and my mom's car wasn't there.
Did he say something that lets you know he had some pretty bad plans?
When I got into the house, he handcuffed me and zip-tied my feet. He told me that he was going to kidnap me and take me to Idaho, where my intention was just to carry his backpacks to the river, and that he was going to live there, and then he'd get me home afterwards.
Did he say anything about where your mom and brother were?
He told me that my mom was in the garage and that Ethan was upstairs, and that the whole time that they were alive, the whole time, but I didn't know.
Speculations regarding Hannah's paternity arose due to DiMaggio's life insurance, leading his family to seek a DNA test. Ultimately, this endeavor was abandoned. Following the tumultuous period, Hannah chose to retreat from the limelight, opting for a life of quiet resilience. Her resolve remained unshakable, a testament to the strength instilled in her by her mother. For Hannah, Survival meant not just enduring captivity at gunpoint, but also weathering the storm of public doubt and scrutiny. Her words resonated with truth and resilience, a clear evidence of her enduring strength.